is. Oh my gosh. And I have gotten the opportunity to meet with you and connect with you on multiple different occasions. I always love to share where I've met the amazing people that are in my networking community. One of them being Dentistry's Got Talent. I've gotten the opportunity to see you speak on stage, share your message. And we also are part of Backstage Together, where we've gotten to spend some really amazing time just getting to know each other, hearing each other's stories. And that's really what I want to talk with you about today, because when I heard your story, I had goosebumps to my bones. I swear to you, I was just so inspired by your story. And really, like with the Clearly Worthy podcast, my goal is to help inspire other women, specifically in business, to stand in their worth, to own their space, to speak up, to achieve their ultimate dreams. And I think your story is such a powerful example of that. So I would love to just dive right into that and hear that story for our audience now.
Yeah, no, it's funny. This story that I shared when we were together not too long ago, a month or so ago, I was speaking about a moment in time where I felt like, okay, I could stand in my power and truly see my level of importance as a woman and as a hardworking sales professional that deserved to be respected. But what a lot of people don't realize, like a lot of people, they know I'm a sales trainer, but a lot of people also don't know my story, that Real Talk Selling and me starting my business started as a result of me going through my journey as a bariatric patient. I'm a recovering food addict, and I had weight loss surgery 14 years ago. It'll be 15 years in November. And you want to talk about being worthy. You want to talk about being 100 plus 115 pounds heavier, probably 120 pounds heavier than I am now 15 years ago, and not having any self-worth.
Yeah.
Because I struggled with food all my life. And that was a pivotal moment for me because I did what most patients do when they're looking for help. At that point in my life, I said, I got to find a bariatric doctor. So I picked up the phone and I started calling office to office. And just like this happens in dentistry, I was dismissed. Well, you got to come in for a consult. Well, you got to do this. Well, you got to do that. And I didn't have the self-worth at that point to think, okay, I'm worth to keep pushing to try to find it out. So I waited a whole year, gained another 10 pounds, looked in the mirror, felt bad about myself, and I started calling again. And it wasn't until I met a front office coordinator over 1,000 miles away who made me feel like I was worth talking to her, sharing my story. We get to the end of a 45-minute conversation, and she said to me, Sherrine, you got to come in for a consult. Where do you live? I said, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. She says, what? We're in Oklahoma. What? But because she made me feel like I was worth hopping on a plane. Guess what I did, Allison? I hopped on a plane and flew 1,000 miles to have weight loss surgery because of this front office coordinator who captivated me over the phone.
Wow.
Because of her, I lost 115 pounds. I've kept it off for 14 years. And I stand here today. I can't find this woman. I've tried to find her, cannot find her, to share my story. Because not only did she change my life, she's the reason for Real Talk. I share this story with my treatment coordinators that it only takes one powerful, captivating conversation. So that's one story. And I don't know if you have any thoughts or insights about it.
I have goosebumps with that because this is something that I talk to my team members all the time is like, we have to remember what we're really doing in our profession. Like we have to really remember what our job is. Our true job is to help transform lives. That is what we're doing every single day. And I know that we get bogged down in the details and the minutia of like calling the phones, answering the phones, checking out patients, all of our reporting. But at the end of all of this, all of these efforts that we're creating and doing every single day are to be able to change patients' lives. And it's so important. And so what I always talk to my teams about, I'm like, your job is so critical. And don't ever forget that we're human beings connecting to human beings. And you have this amazing ability and power to influence somebody to make one of the most important decisions of their life. So
Mm.
that story just gave me goosebumps to the core because it's true. And I hope everyone that's listening to this really remembers, like, whatever your role is, when you're working with human beings, helping them make that decision to change their life is one of the most powerful things you can do. So I love that you started off with that story.
Yeah, it's what I'm sure you agree with, Allison, is yes, we're selling, but we're serving first. Always
Mhm.
serving. And I always tell people, when you're on the phone, think of there might be another Sherrine, a very
Mhm.
scared, insecure, um, just terrified individual on the other line that just needs to hear a few words of encouragement.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so that's my first story when we talk about, that's why I love this podcast, because worthy is such a powerful word, but for many of us, it translates into so many things, whether if it's our relationships, friendships, marriage, work,
Mhm.
which was the story I shared when we were together. I was in an unfortunate situation. I'm a Lyme disease survivor. And about 6 years ago, I was in the deep battle of Lyme disease, and I was working for a company at the time I was under so much stress and so much pressure. To make a long story short, I made a decision to go out on short-term disability to heal my body.
Mhm. Yes.
Got myself back together after battling Lyme disease for almost 2 years, went back to work thinking I'm back on top, and got back to work to find that I had been displaced. I walked to my office thinking it was my office, and they said, "Oh no, Sherrine, your office isn't here anymore. We moved your office since you were out on short-term disability for 3 months. Let me show you where your office is." And my office, they had moved me to what I believe is equivalent to a closet.
Mm.
My things were thrown in a box. And I sat back for a second and I thought, this is a company I gave, blood, sweat, and tears to, and committed myself. But because I chose me, I saw
Mhm.
myself as worthy enough to say, I'm going to pause and put everything on the line and on the table to heal my body. But at that moment, I said, I am worthy, too worthy to stay under these circumstances. So I packed up, I took my box, no job. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any benefits. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I took a stand because I saw my worth. That's why I love this podcast. I saw that I was clearly worthy enough to stand in my power.
Mhm.
I packed up my box and I wouldn't leave that day. I don't know if this is going to be on video. People are going to be able to see it.
Yes, they will.
Because of you and your podcast and the movement that you're creating, I found my little Lyme disease awareness doll. And I said, this is my clearly worthy doll.
Yes.
I wouldn't leave that day until I found this. They had thrown it in a box because it was left in my office before I left. But this was what, like, I looked at this and I said, I'm out. And I walked that day. And I was hired less than a week later by a dentist. Word had got out that I was on the market and I was hired. They matched my salary. I made more money, and the rest is history.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I love, like, the story is amazing because there are so many demonstrations of worthiness. And I want to unpack it a little bit because I know myself, first of all, and many women that I coach and work with, and really just like in the industry, we struggle as women with worthiness. And there's so many reasons why. There's so many reasons why. But we're going to talk today about how we can kind of overcome that and turn the dial on our own worthiness to make decisions that are going to be best for us. And the first one is, I know so many women, myself included, that have a hard time prioritizing my own well-being and health when it comes to my career. And I see this again and again, like your greatest fears came true where you said, okay, I'm going to take a stand for my own health and my own well-being. And I'm going to hope that the company that I'm working for is going to support that decision and that it's not going to impact my career. But it did. And that's the biggest fear I think that we have as women, is that if we prioritize ourselves, or we even just shift our focus a little bit to not be giving, and we give back to ourselves, that something bad's going to happen. And that's the reality of, like, a lot of the cultures of the workplace that are alive today. And that's, it's something that's not going to last forever, because we can't have human beings not taking care of themselves and not prioritizing their well-being and making a company successful. That just doesn't work together. And I don't think it's going to last. But you took a stand on first your own well-being and your health, which is a hard thing to do. And so tell me a little bit about, like, as you were leading up to that moment, like, what was going in your mind? You're like, no, like, I have to take a step back. Like, I must put myself, and I'm worthy of taking a step back from this career to honor my own well-being.
I think at that moment, and when life throws you curveballs, particularly with your health, it's
Mhm.
very humbling because you're able to step back and realize if you don't have your health, you have nothing. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter how many bonuses you get, how many six figures you make. If you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Mhm.
And Lyme disease, I mean, almost took me out. I mean, I was in bed for a year. I was, I was pretty much losing my vision, my balance, my both of my hands were closed for, a year. I had to use arthritic gloves. I had to learn how to write with my right hand, my left hand. So when a disease is pretty much taking you out in front of your eyes without any true warning, because I didn't know what it was, for me, it was like I had already been down,
Yeah.
so I couldn't go down anymore.
Yeah.
For me, it was like that was the moment that made me think Lyme disease, there's nothing more difficult than that. So you can't really break me now.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I saw it as an opportunity that I thought, you know what? It's only up from here. And I'm very spiritually grounded. I believe in God. I believe Lyme disease is the greatest gift God has ever given me. And when you have faith and you're spiritually grounded, it's easier to get through these difficult moments. So whoever your higher power, whatever it is that you believe in, it's important to tap into that. And I stand really firm to that. I make sure that I practice as much self-love as I can. I practice walking meditation. And I think people in general, men and women, we have to find what resonates with us, what makes
Mhm.
us tick, what do we like, and we have to create the space to give ourselves more of that.
Mhm. 100%. And there's a sense of needing to feel worthy of giving yourself that space and time. And you can't, like, something that I always say to, anyone I'm talking to, because we all, like, if we're in a room of 1,000 people and we ask them, have you ever been through something really, really hard, something that just knocked you to your knees, something that you felt like you couldn't get through? Everyone in the room will put their hand up to some degree or another. Every single person will say, I've been through something so hard in my life that I didn't know if I was going to be able to get through it. And what you said is so true. And I think it's so important to remind everyone, if you're going through something hard, if you're going through something challenging, this is the beginning of your expansion, because that is what is going to create the most resilient, aligned, worthy, powerful version of you, is when you overcome and when you get through the hardest things that you've ever gone through. And I don't think it gets to be any other way. I think that when we go through these things, it's just redesigning us for our greatest expansion and our greatest
Ooh.
lessons and our greatest journeys. And so I love that you said that, because for anyone that's listening to going through something challenging or hard, know that on the other side of this is going to be the best life you've ever had, or the best journey you've ever had.
Oh,
So
I love that. And Allison, you know what? Sometimes the universe creates these things for us to happen because if it didn't happen, we wouldn't move anyway, right? Sometimes we can be very comfortable in our space, but we need a little nudge. And sometimes those nudges are painful,
mhm,
but we got to have that nudge to be able to go to the next place, our next destination. Like you said, expansion.
100%, 100%. And so for your expansion, I know, like, I talk to women all the time, and myself included, where I was in a job for 10 years and I knew I was ready to move to the next phase of my life. I knew I was ready to start something on my own, but there's such a paralysis that happens when you're about to leap. And what you did was, like, when you told that story the first time, my mind, I was like, wow, like, she leapt so quickly. Like, there was no, you know, question in your mind that this was the right thing for you. So tell me about your mindset in that time that helped you say, like, no, I am worth more than this. And even though I have no idea what's going to happen next, I'm giving up my salary, I'm giving up my career, my security. because I'm worth more. What helped you make that decision in that moment?
Well, it was a humbling experience. And I was hurt.
Hmm.
I was very hurt. And um, at that time in my career, I can admit that I was, you know, I stood my ground, and I was a top performer, and could be opinionated. And I think that for me I was humiliated and I
Mm,
was hurt, and I didn't see that there was any way that I could come back from it. And I just thought, I'm so much bigger than this. If I stay, then how do I look at myself in the mirror? I
yes.
mean, how do I go, go home tonight, go to sleep, wake up tomorrow, get dressed, knowing that somebody tried to take the best of me, all of me?
Mhm.
Because my career was what I lived for.
Mm,
I mean, I've always been the type of person to grind, grind, grind. And, I worked through the Lyme disease battle. I don't even know how I did it. And so there was nothing left. They had already taken everything away from me at that point. So losing a couple dollars is like, I lost my self-worth. I lost who I was as a person. And then you lose respect for who could do this for you.
mhm.
And I think that was where the worth came from, is like, "Psh, I deserve better than this. I mean,
Yes.
I'm not a horrible person. And I was at a really vulnerable point in my life. So if I wanted to be a part of work in a dental office, or, work for a plastic surgeon, whoever at that time, I needed to be a part of an organization that would actually be there and stand for me during a
Mhm.
real time in my life.
100%. And I think, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What I'm learning as I go through my expansions and continue to evolve as a person, it really is about alignment. And so when you realize, like, there's a moment where you realize, like, we're not aligned anymore. Maybe we were at some point, but now, like, we're not aligned anymore. And you can, I see this again and again. And I've done this so many times where you can convince yourself, you know what, it's going to be okay. Like, I'll just get through it until I find another job, or I'll just all of the reasons why you convince yourself to stay in that misalignment, but it will catch up with you. And it usually is at a great cost. So for you, if you would have stayed, if you would have said, like, you know what, I'll just, just for the next couple of months, just, figure out something else to do, you couldn't sleep at night with yourself. And that cost is great.
Absolutely. The other thing is, I don't know how I, at that time, because I was one of those types of treatment coordinators, like, I would see myself in the patients who I would meet with. And I,
Mhm,
I didn't see myself as truly having everything that I wasn't fully equipped after that to even do my job,
mhm,
And so it was kind of like, if I can't be truthful to who I was as an employee, and after all that disappointment and hurt and embarrassment, like, I was nothing to the people who I would
yeah.
potentially sit with to try to serve.
Mhm.
And so I had to really kind of step back and step outside of it being a career for me. I wasn't really going to be working in my sole purpose at that time.
Mhm.
So it was best for me to step away, gather my thoughts. I had my health back. So if
Yeah.
I had my health, and I had a loving husband, I had my kids, air in my lungs, I could breathe, I could see, I could stand. I mean, finding another job, that's nothing.
Mhm. I love that. And that just gives me, this is something that I know both of us talk about all the time when we're working with our teams, is like, you have to prioritize you as a human being first before you can take care of anything within your business or your patients or your clients or your work. Like, it all has to be foundationally within you. And so for anyone that is going through their own expansion right now, or they're going through their own journey, maybe they don't know what to do, maybe they feel not aligned anymore. The first thing to do is really to give yourself the gift and the grace and that, like, love of, like, building your person up, of taking exceptional care of you, becoming so clear about who you are, what you want, what your values are, so that you can do everything else that you want to do. And you will only be the most successful when you do it in that order. again, like I have pushed outside of that. I'm like, I don't have to be aligned. I can just go this way. It will come at a great cost to you. And so just know that like your highest paid priority when you're in a transition is to like honor yourself. And
Mm.
then everything moves from there.
You know what I love about what you just said, honoring yourself, but a word stood out. You said getting clear on what it is that you want.
Mhm.
After I left that experience and I went to work for another dentist, I was so clear about what I wanted that I was able to verbalize, and I was actually able to craft the position because I was like, listen, I went into the dentist and I said, and he saw what I could do as far as closing cases. And I said, listen, I could do this from home one day a week. Like I was done with the grind because that experience helped me to identify what I didn't want
Yeah.
and where I had arrived and what I wanted and what I was worth having.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This just reminds me of everything that's happening in your life that you don't want, you don't like, it doesn't align, it doesn't feel good for you. The only thing that is information for you to know what you do want.
That's
And
it.
so I think sometimes, like, again, like as women, we internalize this, we take time to process it, and that's fine. But just know that anything in your life right now that you're experiencing that is not for you, it's not, you don't like it, it feels uncomfortable, it feels bad, is just information to show you what you do want and you do like, and just go in that direction. And that's what we get to do in our growth and in our journey is like, just see that as information. Okay. I don't want this anymore. What do I want? Let's go and create that. And you can.
You
So
can't.
tell me, yes, you can. It's so possible. And that's where I want to ask you next. Like, what have you created since then? Because you are just on fire in our industry and you're like one of the most influential women that I know. So tell me, like, what have you created since those hard things that you've gone through, you've overcome them, and now you're here. What is it that you created?
Yeah. So I think the year of COVID, which for a lot of people, that was the year was like do or die, sink or swim. And I did so much that year that by the end of the year, I was kind of stepped back and I looked and I thought, how the heck did I do this? Like, how did I?
Yeah.
And so what I'm able to do now, I created Real Talk Selling University, which is my platform. I call it, I have so much content with respect to case acceptance. I often tease people and say, if anything ever happened to me, I look at all of my content like Prince. When Prince passed away, he had a vault of music that was never released. That is how I see the Real Talk Selling University. It is a university with all of my courses, all of my material, not just for closing cases, but also training phone skills for front office coordinators.
Mhm.
Inside Real Talk Selling University, I can also build out custom branded online universities for a standalone dental practice so that
Mm.
they have a portal that as they continue to grow their business and get new team members, they say, you go to Brown Dentistry University, I can build that. I can also build a custom branded online university for DSOs. All right, so
Mm.
that's Real Talk Selling University. So I work with doctors, whether it's virtually coaching them virtually, them buying an online course. And the vast majority of what I do is traveling on site to train treatment coordinators and some clinical and the dentist on Real Talk Selling verbiage. So I'm essentially on site implementing the Real Talk Selling
Mhm.
system with all of my forms. And then I'm also the case acceptance trainer for Dr. Anissa Holmes, who I absolutely adore. And I know you know Dr. Anissa Holmes
Yes.
with Delivering Wow. I'm her case acceptance coach. I'm also the case acceptance trainer for big case marketing as well as tiny rhino marketing. So I stay busy. And I also, this is something I'm really excited about because I am spiritually grounded and I feel like I'm sort of like on this spiritual path, a spiritual journey, as I've created a Facebook group called Spirituality and Dentistry. And that's
Mm.
a safe space for people who might be going through a trial or a tribulation, or they just need a safe space to be able to maybe have somebody pray for them, or you could also just be anonymous and just lurk and feed your soul with
Yeah.
positivity so you can get through your day. So a lot of great things happening. I have a virtual talk show called the Real Talk Selling Show. I'm getting ready to start a podcast. I got a book coming out. So I'm just blessed. All
Yeah.
of this Because I chose my worth.
Hmm.
All of this because I chose my worth. And I rap.
Yes, you
I forgot
do.
about that. I'm a case acceptance rapper. And so like all these things, I would have never, I would have never known all these things were within, but I chose my worth. So
I
it came.
love it. And that's like the thing that is so exciting and it's so powerful is that we can't see, like you have this whole world that you have opened up for yourself because you've made that decision. And I think that's something that like we get scared of because we don't know, like it's so unknown to us. We're like, okay, if we say no to this, what else is out there? And what I want to encourage all of our listeners to know is that it's whatever you want to create. When you have the worthiness, you have the confidence, you have the ability to start stepping into that expansion, that person that you're meant to become, because you wouldn't be able to impact as many people if you didn't make those choices. Like everything that you're doing is impacting the lives of others, it's helping and supporting and growing other people. And you wouldn't be able to do that today if you didn't make those decisions for yourself that were scary and they were unknown. But that's how we get into our best and greatest purpose. That's how we get to be doing the things that we love and really be aligned. And so, if you're at a point in your life, if anyone's listening that you feel, I don't know what's coming next for me, decide what it is that you want and then step towards it and know that you're worthy of that life. You're worthy of that dream that you want. Like Sherrine, you're doing so many amazing things to help and support the world right now. And it's started with you stepping into your worth and knowing that it's all possible for you. So I just want to honor you today and just acknowledge you for everything that you're doing in the industry. If someone wants to connect with you, I will leave actually the link to the Facebook group to join spirituality and dentistry in the comments here below. If you're watching live, and how else do you want them to connect with you if they want to learn more?
Yes, ma'am. You can go right to my website, which is www.realtalkselling.com, R-E-A-L, realtalkselling.com. You can also email me at info@realtalkselling.com.
Love it. Now, I want to wrap up with my final question. And that is, it's more of like a finish the sentence thing. And I love this so much. But what I want to say, Elijah, which we both like know and love Elijah, he actually did this to me or for me on stage at Smiles at Sea. He said, women are clearly worthy of fill in the blank.
Women are clearly worthy of conquering the world. Conquering
Yeah.
the world. May,
Ugh,
may feel scary, may feel scary, may feel uncomfortable, but lean into it because we are capable of conquering the world. I believe that.
so good. Ugh, women are clearly worthy of conquering the world. Thank you so much, Sherrine. I am so honored to have you in my life. You're such a light to the world. And I know you're impacting the lives of so many people in our industry. So thank you so much for being on the Clearly Worthy podcast today. Reach out to Sherrine, go and check out her Instagram, go and check out her rap. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's on her social media. Go and check it out. I'll leave that in the comments below. And thank you again so much for being on the Clearly Worthy podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Been a joy. And if you are interested in stepping into your worthiness, really owning and conquering the world that you want to create for yourself, we are opening up the Clearly Worthy group coaching program this May. So if you're interested in being a part of that group of inspiring, powerful women that are on a journey to becoming their most powerful self, send me a DM, reach out to me, and I would love to chat with you about how we step into your worthiness. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next week.